Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of Halfway with Hathaway. George Hathaway here. Happy to have you joining. Really jam-packed episode this week as I dive into the Super Bowl, which is happening on Sunday. Very excited for that. It's been a long season, but really great teams playing in the Super Bowl. It's a rematch of only 4 years ago. A lot of conspiracy theories with that and kind of what it involves. But no, other than that, later in the episode, I have an interview with my good friend Max Adams. He's a big 49ers fan. We dive deep into what's going to happen. It's about a 30-minute interview too, so make sure to buckle up your seatbelts there and listen in because that's going to be a really great interview. Max, a good friend of mine, we used to do some podcast shows together, played a lot of basketball together as well. So Max and I have a lot of good history. But jumping into it first before we really dive into NFL and Super Bowl, I'm saving that for the way in just because I want to get these things off my chest first. The Knicks been busy at the trade deadline. I'm happy with the New York Knicks. They look like a good team right now, on paper at least. We'll see how they do in the playoffs, probably a second round exit. But what I've been seeing from Brunson and Josh Hart, OG has been playing really great basketball. Julius Randle, hit or miss. But I think what they're doing is amazing in New York. They're finally building a team of contenders with role players who can certainly be all-stars. I mean, Jalen Brunson is an all-star. Julius Randle has been. Josh Hart, I don't think he's there yet at an all-star level, but he certainly is competing as one. Josh Hart's one of my favorite players in the NBA, I have to say. Loved when he was on the Pelicans. True heart guy. And he's been able to, no pun intended, I guess, with that, but he's been able to really play great basketball. He can put up a triple-double for you in no time, and you'll be like, whoa, where did this come from, Josh Hart? And he certainly can bring a lot to the court and for a team, so I'm happy the Knicks have him and Brunson, some Villanova boys in New York, and this is amazing. I think they're really building something special in New York. It'll take a few years in order for them to really build something and build that chemistry and rapport with each other that can make them some contenders. But right now, I think they're second round exits. But I'm happy with what they're doing. This is a team that hasn't been good in the last 10 years. And if the Knicks are really able to build something and really provide a good team, this is great for basketball. It's good to have the Knicks back on top. I mean, not saying they are right now, but in the future, this is great for New York. This is great for the NBA because if you have a Knicks team that's doing well with such a rich history, you're perfect. I think this will really set them up for success in New York. And then on Thursday, it was unveiled a Kobe Bryant statue outside the Crypto.com arena. And this statue signifies his 81-point game, and it's a nice statue. This is one of 3 statues that is going to be unveiled for the late, great Kobe Bryant. And Vanessa Bryant said, "For the record, Kobe picked this pose you're about to see. So if anybody has any issues with it, tough shit." No, I mean, listen, Kobe picked out a statue for himself. Yeah, why not? So I think him doing his 81-point game, like the point up in the sky, that's pretty cool. Considering that is the second highest we've ever seen in an NBA game, aside from Wilt's 100, which hasn't been documented. There's no video footage of this happening. There's just a newspaper article and a picture of Wilt with 100. So for this generation, for a lot of people, that this 81 points signifies one of the greatest scoring in a single NBA game ever. So, there's a lot of naysayers with the whole Wilt Chamberlain thing, that it never happened, the conspiracy theories behind that. So in reality, Kobe Bryant's 81 points is the most in NBA history in their eyes. Second most ever, though. But still, you can't discredit what Kobe did. 81 points is absolutely amazing. And just to see that, it's beautiful. It's a great statue. I know a lot of people don't think it looks that good. The proportions of his arm are very off, and face doesn't look like Kobe's, but that's okay. I think it's the whole point that there's a statue of Kobe Bryant outside the Crypto.com arena. When he played, it was a Staples Center, which is the house that Kobe built. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm happy to see it. I want to know what the others are going to be. I'm assuming it's probably going to be a 24 Kobe statue because we have the 8 right now. And then who knows what the third will be? Will it be of him and his daughter, or will it be just another Kobe, trophy or statue? So I think that's pretty cool. And there's some nice statues outside of the Crypto.com arena. I've been there once. I saw the Shaq statue. There's Jerry West. Some really nice statues. I think there's a Kareem one out there. So I'll have to look at some of those pictures, because I briefly went there just to look at the statues with my dad. But yeah, no, now that there's a Kobe Bryant statue, really cool, well-deserving to one of the greatest players in NBA history. I'm super happy. Sad that he couldn't be there to witness it, of course, but, they did it on 2/8/24, 2, signifying Gigi's number that she wore, 8, Kobe's first number, and then 24, Kobe's second number he wore in the latter half of his career. So again, well-deserving. And they did it, on a really special day, 2/8/24. So excited to see when the other two are going to come out, what they're going to be, because there's so many different poses you could do for Kobe. Him, kind of pulling the jersey. Could do some finals, trophy ones. I mean, there's just so many iconic Kobe poses. Biting the jersey. Something I used to do playing basketball was biting the jersey. I feel like a lot of people do that because Kobe did. Maybe a signature fadeaway. There's just so many different statues that you could have of Kobe Bryant. That's how important he was to basketball, how important he was to the culture as well. So really, really happy to see it. And then moving into more college basketball. This was really interesting. This happened earlier this week. Dartmouth is unionizing men basketball players. The National Labor Relations Board ruled Monday that Dartmouth men's basketball players who had petitioned to be recognized by a local union are employees of the school, a ruling that could allow NCAA athletes to unionize and negotiate work conditions, among other aspects of their employment. This is huge, especially with NIL deals, players getting paid. College basketball is taking a step in a very interesting direction. And to me, this is weird. Like unionizing players, your college students that are getting paid to play basketball. So there's so many different ways you could look at it. And then you look at it this way. All right, so if you're an employee of the school, you can be fired. You're not doing a good job. You're putting up, 2.5 points a game. You could be fired. Like, it's just so many different things. The legality of it all. It wouldn't happen right away. It's going to take some time for something like this to unfold. So it'll be interesting to see. But the fact that this is happening, Rick Pitino's been big. If you follow him on Twitter, Rick Pitino has been talking a lot about this. And he makes jokes a lot about it. But, Pitino has some very smart insights into all of this. He's a very smart man when it comes to the legality of college sports, especially when it's like you're talking about it in the sense of football and basketball. The two biggest sports in college is football and basketball. And college football significantly is a lot larger than college basketball, I believe. And this is coming from me, somebody who reports on UConn's men basketball, saying that college football is a lot bigger than basketball. And nothing wrong with that. I think that college basketball is getting a lot of recognition, though, which is important. But yeah, no, this is groundbreaking stuff to be really looking at. Once they had the NIL deal, you were looking at that, and then now we have the whole Dartmouth wanting to unionize their players. Interesting stuff. College sports is taking a very interesting turn in this decade. These last 4 years, it really has, just because the NIL is changing it, the transfer portal is changing college sports as we speak, and this is huge for the sport, huge for the players. So it'll be interesting to see going forward. But make sure to stay tuned. I have my interview with Max coming up soon. We're gonna be talking about the Super Bowl, talking about the what's at stake right now. A lot of good stuff. Disney, Fox, Warner Brothers, and Discovery are joining up to make a sports app to watch all their content. This is huge. This right here is going to change the game of how you watch sports. The NFL and NBA were blindsided by this. That's what they said, that they did not see this coming. So you have Disney, ESPN, you have Fox, FS1, FS2, Fox Sports, Warner Brothers, that's TNT. So it'll be interesting to see how this is going to kind of go down with inside the NBA with Shaq, Chuck, Kenny, Ernie. See how that's going to go. So it's so cool to see this, but it's just like a conglomerate now of all the big major sports. You're leaving out CBS and NBC. So then you have all these other huge companies coming together to form one. So it's going to be interesting to see how you're going to have to pay for this, what the premium's going to be, how you're going to be looking at this. And then it's like, okay, it's just $20 a month to watch all these teams or all these channels. And then who's going to be blacked out? You want to go watch Celtics on TNT? Oh, well, guess what? You're going to have to watch on NBC Sports Boston because it's going to be blacked out on TNT. There's something like that. That's just an example of how it could happen. Monday Night Football, that's on ESPN. I mean, you have to pay to watch Thursday Night Football. You have to pay to watch Sunday Night Football. And then Sunday Football in general. That's on CBS, some on Fox, some on NBC. I mean, it'll just be interesting to see how this is all going to unfold. And then the MLB, they have their own MLB network, but then you have the local TV stations that'll air as well. At this point, just might as well have cable, right? I mean, it's just so crazy to see these conglomerates joining up, making one big app. You're going to spend a premium on that. And then you'll probably have to get like a plus version if you don't want ads or something like that. I mean, I don't know how it'll happen. So it'll be interesting because you have Bally Sports too, which is big down south and out west. But yeah, no, like you have all these major networks coming together. You leave out a few. Those aren't going to be together, but you're still going to have to figure out a way to pay. It's going to be messy to start. I don't know. You didn't hear it from me, but I mean, a majority of people just probably use StreamEast or crack streams, some other third-party source, and not even watch it on, the pay-to-watch services. There's just so many ways to stream sports nowadays, and this is the one thing where I think they messed up in the beginning. This is where I think it all went down, was just having all these different premiums and these different contracts for these different leagues. Then it makes it all messy. It makes it all messy. Who's going to have the Super Bowl in the next few years? ESPN has Monday night. Amazon has Thursday. NBC has Sunday night. And then it's just so messy. You have to watch all this, especially for the NFL. NBA, it's still messy. It's usually ESPN, ABC, what else? TNT. That's really it. And then if you want to watch your local teams, you watch it on the local station. Again, messy. MLB, it's just MLB network, and then all that. NHL, that's on TNT, ESPN, ABC. College football, that's on Fox or ESPN, depending on what league you're trying to watch and what conference you're trying to see. So again, messy. If you really want to dive deep into it, it's messy. And this is something that should have been fixed years and years ago when streaming started becoming huge. And all these different networks wanting to own different things. It's messy. You could have a whole episode just on this and diving really deeper into it and pulling up some Venn diagrams and charts and graphs and all this. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but now into the NFL. They had the NFL awards. Lamar Jackson won his second MVP. Ironically, that's how many playoff wins he has as well, too. But he deserves it. He's a great quarterback. He deserves it. Yeah. Antonio Gates didn't get into the NFL Hall of Fame. He leads all tight ends in touchdowns in the NFL history, and he didn't get in on the first ballot. I think is outrageous. If it wasn't for Antonio Gates, I think the tight end position would have been different. Tony Gonzalez, same thing. Gronk, Kelsey, yeah, of course, like they changed the game. But Antonio Gates walked so players like Kelsey and Gronk could run. And I think that's a huge snub. He should have gotten into the NFL Hall of Fame, in my opinion. And I don't really like the Chargers, but I love Antonio Gates. I love what he did for the NFL, and he's just a great tight end. He has the most touchdowns in tight end history, and how you're not going to let him in first ballot is outrageous to me. He better get in next year, but to me, he should have been a first ballot. He's a Hall of Famer in my eyes. But nonetheless, let's dive into a great interview I have with my good friend Max Adams. Super happy to have him on my show. So let's take a listen. I'm joined with one of the biggest 49ers fans I know, maybe the only 49ers fan that I know of, Max Adams. Max, I'm happy to have you on the podcast today, man, talking about the Super Bowl. I know you're super stoked about it.
Happy to be here, brother. Happy to share a mic with you always. And hell yeah, I'm stoked about the Super Bowl. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long 4 years, and it took my blood pressure and a few tears to get here, but we're here now.
Listen, that was a good game against the Lions. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wanted the Lions to win. I just wanted, the team that hasn't gone in forever to go.
Listen, you and the rest of America.
Yeah. I mean, it's what America wanted, you're right. I think, but I'm happy it's the 49ers. I think they have a good chance of actually taking down the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, because I'm just sick and tired of like this whole narrative that I'm hearing. But I know you're tired of some narratives too. Brock Purdy, is he a game manager? One of your favorite quarterbacks of all time too, Cam Newton, saying this. I mean, this must be so conflicting for you right now.
No, it is. It feels like a lot when when Cam went to the Patriots, and I was conflicted about how to feel about that, and I'm conflicted now. First of all, for the listeners that feel like Cam Newton has no place to talk about game managers and quarterback, ratings and strategy and whatever, watch your mouth, because that's one of the best quarterbacks in the last decade, one of the best college football quarterbacks of all time. If anybody knows who's a game changer, is that man Cam. However, I hate that this narrative is sort of hung over Brock Purdy's head, like he's not doing things that are elite, things that jump off the page, and things that win the 49ers football games. The 49ers were not here with Jimmy G. They haven't been here in the last decade. They haven't been this good since the 2012 team that Kaepernick brought to the Super Bowl. And Kaepernick did not put up the numbers that Brock is putting up right now. We just had a way better defense. But now Brock has even the scales for the defense and the offensive output, and has put together, that's why he's an MVP candidate. And yet there's still that Mr. Irrelevant name hanging over his head, like he can't be something in this league. Meanwhile, the guy's in the Super Bowl. Like, I don't get it. And the game manager, let's go over the names that were dropped in that game manager quote. So there was Brock, there was Tua, there was Dak, and there was Jared Goff. And none of those guys have done this season what Brock Purdy has done. There's even an argument that Purdy has more parallels to who he's going up to in the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes, and maybe even Brady to this point in his career, although I know how that sounds, than any of these game managers that Cam named. So I'll go off the list, right? MVP candidate, first year as a starter, led team to the Super Bowl. Mahomes did that. MVP candidate the first year as a starter. Brock Purdy and Mahomes both did that. Led team to Super Bowl in first full year as a starter. Brock Purdy, Mahomes, and Tom Brady did that. The team got rid of another capable starter that they once believed in to pave the way for the team to get over the hump and pursuing a ring. Kind of Brady, but definitely Patrick Mahomes. Led league in yards per attempt in first year as a starter, as well as QBR. Brock was first in success rate this season in his passes, while Pat was second in his first year as a starter, and both were top 5 in passing yards. And I could continue. The guy is 17-4 as a starter. I understand the thought that the glass slipper might fall off eventually is hanging over his head. I get it. That's exactly why I thought that we should have gone with Trey Lance to go into the season, because I thought we gave up too much to get somebody a Cinderella story ending, right? I thought we gave too much for Trey Lance to give up on him for somebody that's having a Cinderella story. However, he's 17-4. He's playing in the Super Bowl now, and we're 21 games in, and the guy hasn't lost a step, and he has one less UCL. Tell me what I'm missing. The fact is, game managers don't do what he did in the last drive of the Green Bay game. They don't do what he did in the second half of the Detroit game. Look at Jared Goff in that same half of football. Look at Tua in the entire Kansas City game. Look at Dak that entire Green Bay game. It's not that hard to use your eyes and accept the fact that Mr. Irrelevant has now turned into a top 6 to 8 quarterback in this league. And if he wins the Super Bowl, he'll be in 5.
Wow. Lot to unpack there.
Mm-hmm.
You have a fair point, though, because I mean, like the media, I don't personally do this, but the media portrays Patrick Mahomes on his pedestal of being the GOAT because 2 Super Bowls, he's, going to so many of them, and then they compare Brady's numbers about their first few years, and then how he's significantly a little bit better. But I mean, Mahomes is playing a little bit more games than Brady did in his first few years as well. But then you're like portraying this all, but it's like, okay, Brock Purdy's doing the same thing. This is year 2. He's in the Super Bowl. He's gone to 2 NFC championships in the last 2 years, and the guy was the last pick in the NFL draft. So then it's just like, is this how we're going to start putting like people in these conversations? It's like, okay, let's see what you did your first few years, compare that to Brady, see how you're doing better than him. And then it's like, okay, but Brady was also doing this at the age of 40 and like half the age of what Mahomes is now, and Brock Purdy. But it's just, to me, it's just annoying. But I see that's a valid point, because out of all those people you named, Dak, Jared Goff, Tua, and then of course Purdy, only Goff and Purdy have been the only 2 that gone to a Super Bowl.
And Goff was the game manager in that Super Bowl scenario. That's why they only put up, what was it, 3 or 7 points in that Super Bowl?
Right. I think I scored was like 17-3. Patriots won that year.
Game manager, right? I don't expect Brock to do that in the Super Bowl. I expect Brock to lead one of the best offenses in the NFL once again against one of the best defenses in the NFL and have a shootout. I mean, I don't think anybody expects anything less from this game. And I mean, it's all based on all this narrative and all this hate that Brock gets, which is completely baseless in my opinion, is based off where he was drafted. And it's not like if you put Trey Lance in the same scenario and you flip him and Brock, right? Are we having the same conversation about Trey Lance? Are we having the same conversation about Brock if he's number 3? No, we're not. We expect Brock as a number 3 pick to do what he's doing right now. But because he's Mr. Irrelevant and he's on a very, very good football team, we're starting to take the credit away from him, which is insane to me. I understand, like I said, the thought that the glass slipper is going to fall off eventually. But at what point is the cutoff date to that thought? Because again, 17-4 has done nothing but win, led the league in various passing categories. And I mean, yards per attempt, QBR, these are some of the highest, telling QB stats we have in the NFL as far as QB play goes. So I don't know what I'm missing. I really don't. And I've watched Jimmy G in this offense. I've watched Brock in this offense. It's drastically different. And if you watch that Lions game in full, the 49ers don't have a chance if Brock Purdy is not on the field in the second half. The improvising, the throws in keyholes, the decision-making, all was there. And when you needed him the most, he shined the brightest. And, because he has names around him and because he is the last pick of the draft, the talking heads on television want to take it away from him. And I can't stand for it.
Oh, of course they do. They do that with everybody. And what I hate the most is just this Patrick Mahomes GOAT comparison. I personally do not think he's the greatest of all time, or he's going to touch Brady. I don't think so. Well, that could be the bias in me, but to me, it's like, look what Brady did over so many years. You can't just take a small portion of what he did and then just be like, oh, Mahomes is doing a little bit better in that time, and then be like, he's one of the best to do it. But guess who beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl and AFC Championship games? Tom Brady. His only few
That
losses.
can be taken away. There are variables in there that determine both of those games. I will throw that out there. D Ford for one in the AFC Championship game-winning pick Tom Brady threw, cost them a trip to the Super Bowl. A toenail cost them a trip to the Super Bowl that year. And then the following year, Pat was sacked how many times in that Super Bowl? How many passing yards did Tom Brady have in that Super Bowl? Was it like 170? I mean, if we're going to compare numbers and statistics here and performances versus Mahomes, it's still a toss-up. Those are very, very minuscule things that is determining a lot of people's takes. And I mean, you look at what Brady does on the field, all you got to do is use your eyes. Use what Tom Brady's capabilities are and Patrick Mahomes' capabilities are. Patrick Mahomes is miles away from him, miles away. Maybe not as accomplished to this point, but man, he's getting off to a damn good start, isn't he?
He's off to a good start. He looks good. But I mean, we've seen the same passes from Matthew Stafford that Patrick Mahomes does, but it's just glorified a lot more is because it's Patrick Mahomes doing it. I mean, Matthew Stafford was notorious for his beautiful sidearm throws that when he was doing them on the run. I mean, he was throwing to Calvin Johnson, beautiful passes down the field.
Mm-hmm. But could Matthew Stafford make the Super Bowl with Marquez Valdez-Scantling as his wide receiver 2?
He's Travis
and a rookie
Kelce.
receiver as his wide receiver 1.
Mahomes has Kelsey.
Kelsey hasn't shown up for most of the year. I mean, in the last 2
until
weeks,
the playoffs. Until the playoffs, though.
Correct. But the last 2 weeks he's been exceptional. But you had to win 13 other games to get there. Kelsey wasn't there for all of them. I drafted him first overall in my fantasy league this year.
Why? Why would you draft Kelsey first overall?
It's a two tight end league. It's a 2 tight end league. I was looking at the value position. I wanted somebody that was durable. I thought my plan was to go Kelsey in the first round, Mahomes in the second, and get the stack. Mahomes was taken with the 3rd pick in the 2nd round. So my plan failed. But I had a decent year. But
did you win your championship or no?
I didn't make the playoffs. I lost. I scored 200 points in a week and got beat in a week that I had to have. So, I mean, what can you do there? But I mean, I drafted him first, and trust me, I was watching all year. He wasn't Kelsey of old. He was not Kelsey of the last 5 years. It was one of his more mediocre seasons by his accounts. So, and Pat still got there. So there are things that Pat does that are eerily similar, at the very least, if not better, than what Brady has done. All you got to do is use your eyes. The same thing with Brock. All you got to do is watch the game. All you got to do is see that he's doing things and improvising plays and making things happen way more and way to an upper echelon than most other quarterbacks.
I just hate the conversation. It's just so annoying because you hear it every second.
Do you?
I don't like it. I don't think, from an outside perspective, this must be what it was like to listen about the Patriots and Tom Brady all these years for the last 20-something years. Probably what it was like. I mean, I don't know. I was loving it. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to be talking about the Patriots. Brady's the GOAT. This is like one of the greatest teams ever. And everybody was just talking about that and glorifying Brady and the Patriots. And now it's like, I hear about the Chiefs and Mahomes. And I'm like, wow, this really must be what it was like to be a Patriots hater growing up in the 2000s.
Yeah, but were there scandals and other things that generated that hate that go a little towards the unethical side, as opposed to Taylor Swift and Jackson Mahomes and Travis Kelce commercials? Like, I feel like Deflategate and Spygate were a little more, because of, or it generated a lot of the hate.
Deflategate wasn't even really wasn't proven. It's all right. That wasn't proven that they did it. It's whatever though. Spygate was the only thing they really got kind of caught for, but that's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Jim Harbaugh. Look where he is now. They kind of did the same thing, taking signs and whatever.
They went to steal signs from Central Michigan. Like they were gonna beat that. They won the national championship for Christ's sakes.
It's like saying that like the Patriots stole signs from the New York Jets too.
Yeah, like that is not the same thing. And especially in a year that they win the Super Bowl, like, come on, man. Let's be for real again.
The quickly, you know how the 49ers play YB walking out on the stage,
Yes.
walking up. You think they play Kanye or Taylor Swift going out? I saw some videos like people were doing edits about it just to be like petty. If the 49ers did, I don't think they should do it walking out. Because if they lose, it's game over. 49ers are going to be clowned. Like everyone's going to make fun of them for doing it. I say do it when you hold the Lombardi trophy, you're in the locker room, you're playing Kanye or you're playing some Taylor Swift in the locker room celebrating a win.
See, that one's tough because at the point that I want to be petty, if it wasn't against Patrick Mahomes, I would be like, do it. But like knowing Pat Mahomes, every time that you feel his fire, you lose. It's happened every single time. So
And look at Justin Tucker. What happened with him?
right. And not that Mahomes really lit the world on fire, but like it came back to bite him at the end of the day. And so I think we got to stick with YB. I think we got to stick with what worked, what got us here. And, I'm a very superstitious guy. I'm a baseball player. So I have superstitions all over the place. And I am not one to believe that you should change what has worked. I mean, I wear white socks every game day. I only wear white batting gloves. I only have white cleats. I do the same thing every time I get in the box. You got to stick to what works.
Yeah. And speaking of superstitions, teams that wear white in the Super Bowl have a winning record. I think they've only lost, like 3 games if you wear a white jersey. 49ers are wearing white.
I love that. I love that, putting that out into the universe. I need more things to put people on our side because the public, even though we're favorites, the public is real against us right now.
Oh, of course. I mean, who wouldn't want to be against the love story with Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, and then Patrick Mahomes? I mean, everyone wants to root for the Chiefs because they're what's been working right now. This last like 5 years or whatever. All right, Max, last one for you.
Yep.
Who's winning?
So I got a couple things that can really determine this game. So the 2 best position groups in this game are the 49er offense and the Kansas City defense. And that's where this game is going to be decided. And the 49ers' number one objective of this game should be to not turn the ball over and to keep the ball away from Pat. If they do that and do it to the highest level, in this case, meaning 0 turnovers, and Pat doesn't have last possession with a chance to win the game, 49ers win this game. But I have concerns about the 49er run defense. I have concerns about the ability or the hot streak that Mahomes is on right now. And I think there are ways around it. I think if you have Dre Greenlaw spying on Mahomes the entire game, I think that sets us up for a good recipe for success. I think if they stick to their cover 2 that they switched to in the second half of the Lions game, as opposed to the cover 4 that they got absolutely ransacked while they were running, I think they have a pretty good shot. But if they don't make adjustments, if they don't contain Patrick Mahomes, if they don't let him improvise, then we have no chance. Because if you let Pat Mahomes dictate the game, Pat Mahomes is going to win the game.
Yep.
We have to set the tone, and we have to bring it on offense and keep that defense tired, guessing, and have a plan to get our playmakers in open field so that we can put points up on the board so Pat's chasing the whole game. Pat's chasing the whole game, I like our chances. If Pat dictates how the game flows, I don't. So, and one more thing, the 49ers need to win because Taylor cannot get 2 rings in the same Super Bowl in her first year as a football fan, while people like me and many others have spent their whole lives wishing that we just get 1. All right. I understand that she's a billionaire, she's a superstar, she's an icon, but that she should be held to the same standard as the rest of us football fans. It's the same game, damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I have 6.
You have 6. Yeah.
I wish I had 6 personally. I personally had 6 championships. No, but yes, I do know what you mean. You're right, though. You can't let, no pun intended, Patrick Mahomes be a game manager in the Super Bowl. You cannot let him control it. I think the 49ers have a legit shot this year. It's not Jimmy G, taking over on on the field. It's Brock Purdy, somebody who you can trust. And you have Christian McCaffrey too, who's one of the best running backs in the game. And I feel confident in the 49ers. I'm going to have them beating the Chiefs, which would be great. I think this would be good for, then we could throw Brock Purdy in the damn conversations about who's the GOAT. 2 years he wins one Super Bowl after 2 NFC championships. I mean, the criteria for that list, I think, is just so invalid now of who's the greatest of all time. It's like, all right, you know what?
It's all subjective.
All
of it is.
It is. No matter what sport you're talking about, it's all subjective. But yeah, I have the 49ers winning. It's going to be a great game.
What do you got for a score? Give me a score and an MVP. Because I can't do it. I don't want to jinx it.
27-21, 49ers. MVP, though. They're going to give it to a quarterback. I mean,
you think so?
It's going to give it to Brock, especially if it's a good game.
I would love if they gave it to Brock. I would love if they. I think if the Chiefs win it, I think it's obviously going to be Mahomes.
Of course.
The Niners win it. It's either going to be Brock, it's going to be McCaffrey, or it's going to be a defensive player. Watch out for my boy Big Play Dre.
Oh, okay.
He's had 2 turnovers this postseason. He always seems to be at the right place at the right time. He reminds me a lot of one of my favorite linebackers growing up, Navarro Bowman. I'm a big fan of his. So those are my 3 picks for the Niners. I think Kansas City wins. I mean, give Taylor Swift the MVP if you want. I don't care. I mean, obviously she had some impact. Sure.
Huge. But yeah, thanks, Max. I appreciate you coming on today, talking about the 49ers, talking about the Super Bowl. I'll have you on again. We'll talk Lakers next time you're on.
Sounds good, brother. Anytime.
All right. Thanks, Max. Go 49ers, though.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's going to wrap things up here on this week's episode of Halfway with Hathaway. Let us know who you have winning the Super Bowl, Chiefs or 49ers. Personally, I'm going with the 49ers. I think they're going to beat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs this year. And yeah, this was a very good episode, very detail-informative episode. I mean, this is a lot's going on in sports right now, especially with all these legality changes, how we're going to watch it. Crazy stuff coming up in these next few years for sports. Make sure to stick tuned, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give us that follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Make sure to give us that 5-star rating as well. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube as well. I'll see you guys next time.